All right, so now that we have that, we know that this button's working and the script is attached. What I want to have happen is I want this to not be visible, and then when we click to read more, to become visible, okay? So the idea here, what we need to do is actually go ahead and apply some CSS, and we're literally all we're going to do is change some of the content, the text inside of here, and also we're going to apply CSS, and we're going to just change some of the content that's inside of the elements themselves. So it's actually relatively simple. But what I want to do first of all is just take this so this is off by default. So I'm just going to go to my index HTML, go up to the top, and we're just going to go ahead and add a style. And we're just going to, what was the name of this one? I think it's just more, right? Yeah, we just want to take this more section and just remove it. So if you remember to target it, it's an ID. So we do that and then more and then brackets. And then we're just going to do display. And we're going to do, does that work? Yeah. And then we're going to do none. So it's just not going to display. I'm going to delete this so it goes up here just so it's a little bit cleaner. And if we save that and just refresh it real quick, you'll see Control R. It's now gone. Okay. So that's good. That was the first thing I wanted to do, just so that it's gone by default. Now we can actually start putting in our business here. So let's go ahead and just get rid of this. This was just there to test, obviously. And what we're going to do is this. I need to, in order to affect these elements in here, again, just like how I needed that ID in order to apply this event listener, I need to do the same thing. I need to be able to target, the dots and this by their IDs. Okay, so up in here, what we're going to do is we're actually going to store them as variables. And all a variable is literally just a box that you can put things into so that you can use them over and over again. It works the same way that you would use a variable inside of math, right? So in math, you might have x, 2 plus 2 equals x. And then you're like, oh, x is 4, right? And then you could say, x plus 5 equals 9. You're like, okay, well, x. So x it's an abbreviation for whatever that number is. Now, usually you're trying to solve for x. We're not trying to do that necessarily, but we're trying to have something, a container that will hold something. So typically it's just a value. So it'll be either a number or it could be a string, which is text. It could be any number of things. In this case, it's going to hold our elements, the objects here. So this is like they're going to hold these, and then we'll use those in order to change them. So we're going to first we need a keyword to say that it's a variable, and then we just have to give it a unique name, so a name that is not already being used somewhere else in our code or by JavaScript itself. So we're going to do variable, we'll call it dots. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing we did up here, where I'm just going to do the get element by ID so I can store them in there. So get element by ID, and the element I need to get is going to be dots. And then I just put semicolon. Okay, so now what's going to do is it's going to find that element and it's going to store it in this variable called dots. And now later on, wherever I write dots, it means that element. That's all we're doing. So we're going to same thing here, variable, and we'll call this one more text equals document dot get element by ID, and this time we're going to grab the more one. Oops, hitting buttons, I don't know what I'm hitting. All right, and then we're going to do one more because we have a couple of things. So btn text, okay, btn text, and that will equal document dot get element by ID, and that again will just be the didn't put quotes in for me. btn semicolon. Okay, so we're just storing basically those elements into those variables, and now we can do things to them. Okay, and this is actually going to be pretty simple. So what we're going to do is we are going to set up an if-else statement. So we're going to say if something, whatever's in these parentheses, is true, I'm going to want it to run what's in this brackets. Okay, we'll just do it like that. Else, if what's in there is not true, oops, like so, I want you to run what's in here. Okay, and it's actually gonna be pretty simple. So you remember this, we added that event listener, and this function is gonna run any time that we click on this read more button, because that's where we applied that function to, right? So anytime that button gets clicked, it's gonna run this function. So what that means is that what we're going to set up is that by default, right now, the more is off. So all we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, if if it's off, then turn it on, and if it's on, then turn it off. Actually, we're going to do it to the dots, though. We're just going to use the dots as our way of doing it, okay? So what we're going to say is if the dots, so remember our dots are the dots there, if the dots dot style dot display is equal to none, I'm going to want you to run what's in here, okay? So dots, again, is a variable. It represents that object. And then dot style is a sub object of it. When we look at dot notation, you can look at it almost like a file folder structure, right? So if we were to look at our website here, right, you'd be like, okay, so you know, inside of my main folder, there's a JS folder, right? So you see how like that would be like a dot, and then inside of the JS would be the JS folder would be this, so it would be dot and then JS script s. Okay, so it's almost like there's it's things that are underneath things and underneath things. So that's what's happening here is that the dots inside of the dots, it has styles applied to it, which we don't have any currently, but that's one of the things that one of the properties of it. And then inside the styles of it, one of the properties that are available to us is display, right? And so and what we're saying is if the style display, if it's none, meaning it's not visible, it's going to run what's in this code, okay? Or else it's going to run what's in here. In this case, this means it's not visible, so in here means it is visible. So basically, if it's not visible, first thing we're going to do is go ahead and change the dots display back on. So we're just going to do dots dot display. I'm sorry, dots dot style dot display. So if it's off, we're going to go ahead and just turn it on. And we'll say equals, and we're just going to do inline. Like, oops, come on. Inline like that, okay? So equals means that if it is equals, if you do a single equals, it means it's an assignment. We're putting this inside of the display. So basically, we're telling this is the value I want inside of here. This is a comparison when it's two equal signs, okay? So reminder here. All right. So, so we're going to turn it on first. Then we'll do is go ahead and do dots dot style. Oops, what am I doing here? There we go. Enter. Sorry. Dots dot style dot, and we'll just go ahead and change the color of it too, because why not? It's always fun. Oops, I meant equals, and then we'll just go ahead and you can do whatever you want. I'm just going to do RGB, and then 250 and 0 and 0 and quotes, and then like this, right? Which is just going to make it red. So we're just going to change it to red. So that way, I guess we know we've been there. Okay, and then let's see. The other thing we want to do is we want to take the button text, btn text variable that we made earlier, and I want to button text dot inner HTML. So the button text inner HTML, and we're going to go ahead and set it back to. So this is basically if the read more is currently on. Right now, by default, it's off. So we're just setting this, okay? So we're just going to say if that is, so we're going to go ahead and put it back to read more, like that. And then we're going to change the more text dot style dot display equal to none. So we're going to turn the more text off. And we're going to kind of do basically the opposite down here. So right here, we'll go ahead and do the dots dot style dot display, and we'll set that equal to. So basically, if it's off, it's going to turn it on. But if it's on, it's going to go ahead and we're going to do off. So we're going to do none here. So basically, if it is off, turn it on, and if it is on, which is what the else would be in this case, turn it off. And then we'll do btn text dot inner HTML, and that will be equal to read less. And then we'll do more text dot style dot display, and we'll set that equal to inline. Okay, so that should be it. So the idea here, like I said, is we store all the stuff first, and then we're doing it based off of the dots instead of the. We could have done it off the more section. That would have worked just as well. I'm not sure why I did it by the dots instead. But anyway, so basically, if the dots are off, turn them on, and then also this is basically going to turn the read more off, because it's going to turn the read more button back to read more. But if it's off, what it's going to do is it's going to turn the dots off, which is just for when you can't see the read more. And then it's going to turn the inside, see how it says inner HTML? It's going to turn the inside of the button text to read less instead of read more. So the button's always going to exist, but when it's collapsed, it'll say read more. But when you click on it and it expands and shows the content, it's going to say read less. And then the text basically of the more content, the stuff that gets revealed, is going to be off, but then we'll turn it on here. So basically we're just flipping them off and on is all we're really doing. This actually isn't even really necessary. I'm just take that out. There you go, like that. And then we'll save it. And that should be good.